Welcome back. It's your boy Mojo JoJo with another Geek Week anime update here. A little bit light this week. We're in that weird transition period where new shows are just about to start coming out. Luckily, we have a couple of shows that are continuing beyond the normal structure of about a 12-13 episode season, with My Hero and Eminence in Shadow continuing on. So I got a few shows to cover that are coming, and then we're going to go over what's going to be coming in this next week. We're going to have pretty much a full plate on our hands. As you can see, I have my new co-host here, Mr. Spike Spiegel. Easily one of the coolest characters of all time. I think we can all agree there. And speaking of the coolest characters of all time, Vash the Stampede is back, and he is in CGI. And it is not good, folks. I am not a fan. Original Trigun, the appeal to Vash is the mystery behind him. He's always on the run. He has this robotic arm that he's scared to show off to the public. And it seems like they kind of threw all that out the window. I thought this was going to be continuing the story, since we were kind of left in the dark with the actual manga itself stopping. So they didn't have anything else to go off of. This is, I guess, a prequel. Maybe this is set in the world prior to the original. But wherever it's set, I am not liking it. There's one fight scene, which is executed okay, I suppose, but it's just weird, especially coming off of Bleach being executed so perfectly, that it's weird that, such a bona fide classic is, in my opinion, being treated so poorly. Like, what was the point of putting all this production into something that people hold close to their hearts just for them to no longer like it? The old man in the show's just a lazy interpretation of the old man that drinks too much and he doesn't want to take care of the rookie and show him the ropes. I don't know, the characters seem lazily done. I mean, obviously you still have Vash there, still quirky and goofy, but it's just weird right now with all the CGI. Maybe it'll grow on me like Chainsaw Man did, but I feel like that's a completely different story. The main appeal to Chainsaw Man, well, at least from the build up to it, was how crazy it was going to be visually. It was supposed to look like that, and that took an episode or two to get used to, and a couple fight scenes, and I grew on me. Maybe this will too, but so far, so bad. Episode 14 of My Hero Academia, Hellish Hell, was a recap episode. Went over everything we've seen in the first 13 episodes, and also showed us really the aftermath of this villain's attack, and really where it left the civilians. If you ask me, the villains completely succeeded in what they set out to do. Obviously, they weren't able to get one for all, but aside from that, the whole city is in disarray. You hear the civilians at one point talk about maybe immigrating, and with the video of Endeavor going public and the video of Hawk going public, people aren't blindly following the heroes anymore just because they have that title of hero. It's an age-old story of, when you see and hear from a villain's perspective, and you start to kind of see where they're coming from, that it's not all bad, it's not all just malice. It's coming from a place where they've kind of been disenfranchised by the world, and they're trying to show them that it's these heroes, which in this show are literally called heroes, aren't all they're cracked up to be. So Midoriya seems to be going kind of through building up to like a dark arc. He's actually starting to show some frustration, which, as we all know, I'm not a big fan of Midoriya as a character. I don't know if soft is the right word, or, to be honest, pretty uninteresting to me. He does have character development. He is, getting older and becoming more of a man, and his powers are growing as he's able to get a hold of all of them as he has these different trials and tribulations. But other than Bakugo, there's not really a character here that I would care if we were to lose. Speaking of losing characters, we gotta say a quick RIP to Miss Midnight. Cool side character. It was a little weird that they didn't do her the justice of, seeing how she died. That would be pretty cool to actually see how it happened. Instead, they just flashed to all of her students, crying over her. This can't happen. Oh my goodness, how could this ever happen? Regardless, this is the best season of My Hero I've seen to this point, so I'm definitely going to finish it up, but, I give it a 7 out of 10 so far, because some of the fight scenes are still cool. Then we got Eminence in Shadow, episode 14, Your Lie, Your Wish. Sid Kageno, easily one of the most overpowered characters I've ever seen in a universe, and it just continues to grow, and it's cool that we're only 14 episodes into this show, because they're building up to some sort of greater evil at hand here. Obviously, the shadows, they are moving in the shadows to take out the real shadows. This most recent one being the Sanctuary, which is basically a religious group that oversees the world powers. Obviously, with Sid he was just going to be a spectator at the goddess's trial, not fighting at all. When the spirits actually call to him because they realize how powerful he is, he has to go and show up as Shadow as opposed to Sid Kageno, even though his name is the one that's called, and he gets dragged dragged into the actual sanctuary, which is like a hidden magic world that you can't really see physically. So when he's at this last room, the goal here is to destroy the magic core to take out the sanctuary. You get to see all of the past of how the sanctuary came to be, all of these different members of the Shadow, how they were experimented on, and how long this organization has been at work. Now they're finally at the end of the rope here. Okay, the greatest champion of all time, Olivier, has been encapsulated as a spirit of some sort, and the sanctuary has full control over how to utilize her power. So all of these mirror images are in this final room coming to attack Sid, because this is the end of their road, if you will. The sword's right there. The champion, Olivier, is the only one that can wield it, and they need to destroy this lock. Instead of going some normal route of, dodging an attack, so she has to be the one to break these locks, Sid moves his heart a couple inches to the right to avoid an attack to the vitals, to get her close enough, takes out every single one of these shadow clones, if you will, of Olivier, and destroys the sanctuary in its entirety. All of the shadows are completely aware this is Sid. No one really understands what his full power is aside from them. They're the only ones who have seen it, which is super cool to see where he came from in the first episode, just being a normal human, beating people up with crowbars, to really being one of the most powerful characters I've ever seen in their own universe, really. So the way he was able to dispatch the champion was just absurd as far as power scaling goes, and it makes me super curious to see what this next enemy, whatever they could be, because this was already a giant world organization that he just took out. So excited to see what the next 6 episodes hold, to see exactly where they're going to go with that. And I honestly, I'm kind of hoping they wrap it up with just this one season, because they've had these 2 to 4 episode arcs throughout the entirety of this season, building up to one overarching story. So it's definitely a show I've enjoyed, but I hope they just wrap it up with a nice tight little bow, as opposed to trying to drag it out, to see how much they can milk it. That's it for what we have that's going on currently. In the next week or so, I got 3 more that I know for sure I'm going to be adding to my watch list that we're going to be going over each week. Most importantly being Vinland Saga Season 2. We've been waiting since 2019, so coming up on 4 years or so. It was the end of the year, so not quite. 3.25 years or so that we've been waiting for this show to come back. Askeladd's dead. So what is Thorfinn gonna do? That has been his whole goal. The first 24 episodes of this show was to take out Askeladd, who killed his father. So there's him being the main character. It's kind of hard to say what direction he's gonna be pointed in. Obviously, he's actually made some allies along the way, and it looks like the English army is going to be attacking probably sometime soon, because the king is dead, and obviously that's going to be looked at as weakness. But a show that was executed perfectly the whole way through. You get super attached to all the characters along the way, and it's just going to be cool to see what these next 24 episodes look like, because not only is it a visually beautiful show, but the story itself is wonderful, and it's it's based off of somewhat what the real world is like. Obviously there's some oversized people, but there's no magical powers or anything here. It's loosely based off of real history, so super excited for that. I am going to be taking on the excursion of watching the first 3 seasons of Bungo Stray Dogs, because the 4th season has just started, and I have seen nothing but praises showered upon it. I'm surprised it's not something I'm already caught up on. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest, until I was scouring to see what I should be putting my focus towards for this upcoming season, but it looks fantastic so far. It's the highest rated show right now. So I'm going to be knocking out those first 3 seasons so I can go ahead and follow along with you guys for season 4. Last one is a little bit more obscure that I haven't heard of before, and I hope I'm not let down. Hikamo no O, which is the Fire Hunter. That's coming January 14th, so that'll be ready for next week's episode here. It's set in the aftermath of humanity's last war. So, post-apocalyptic show. Basically, there's a pathogen that is affecting all humans that makes them burst into flames anytime they come into contact with natural fire. Sure, that'll be explained in the show, but fire is obviously a necessity, because in a post-apocalyptic world where there's no electricity or any, there's no power grids or anything like that, you need heat for sanitation purposes, for food and such, for heat in general. So the only way they can get it right now is by hunting these flame spirits. Okay, so they hunt these flame spirits in order to get fire. That's the only way to do it, and the way they're wording it sounds like that is no easy task. Now, there are rumors of the king of fire hunters who's going to be able to harvest this thing called the Millennium Comet. It's just a man-made star that used to travel the world. If they're mentioning it in the summary, it sounds like there's going to be some truth to this legend of the king of fire hunters. And that's the only way that they're going to have a source of fire to where they're not going to have to put themselves at risk by hunting these fire spirits. So pretty cool concept. Post-apocalyptic world is nothing new here, but everything else, how it shapes, looks super cool. All of the images I've seen so far look gorgeous. I liked what I seen out of the illustrations from the manga from what I briefly skimmed over, so excited to see what comes there. For the next couple weeks here, Geek Week is going to be expanding quite a bit. We have a new game of Dungeons and Dragons that should be coming within the next 4 weeks or so. So Dr. Usif's going to be involved. The Switch God is going to be involved. And our buddy Peter is going to be the one who's our dungeon master, and he has been a guest before on the podcast, and now we're going to be running a whole game. Now, it's not going to be something that happens weekly like we do with the news update or what I'm doing here with our weekly anime reviews that we do, but it's something we're going to try to do about once a month, hopefully kind of falling in line with our game show that we do here. Aside from that, not much else to go over. Next week, we have 3 more shows getting added on, and there's going to be a bunch more that get added on throughout the weeks as we're leading into the spring season. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Please share with your friends if you have any sort of feedback of anything else you want me to watch, something else that I should be following along that I'm just completely missing the boat on. Please let me know. Please make sure it's worth my while. I know the episodes are only about 20 minutes if you skip the intro and the outro, but 20 minutes is very precious in these trying times. But again, thank you guys so much. We always appreciate you. See you next week.